Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Before we get into today's episode, I would like to give everyone a quick thank you, all of our listeners, a quick thank you for all the support and all the just excitement about these episodes. And I'm just happy to be able to put some out for you guys, and you guys enjoy it. If you guys want to hear the podcast get better, you want to help us out a bit, we set up a thing on Anchor here where you can donate a small amount of money to the podcast. So if you feel generous and you want to help out a bit, don't hesitate to donate a small amount and help us grow this podcast. With that, guys, let's get right into the episode. Hello, everybody. Okay. Welcome back to the Press Box Bros podcast. My name is Seth Chasen, your host. Micah is not on this episode. If you guys know his Instagram, please bombard him with requests to come back on the podcast. So with that being said, guys, we have a very special guest today, Jon Duncan of Off the Wall Hockey, a YouTube channel that has amassed about 2.2K subs. And you can catch him on YouTube streaming some NHL games. He's recently been busy with the NHL playoffs that have just started, which is something that we will touch on today, as well as the new NHL 21 rumors and leaks, as well as some other things going on in the NHL world. So how's it going, Jon?
It's going pretty well. Thanks for having me on, man. Really great to be here.
No problem. We've been trying to get this episode to happen for quite some time. We finally got that one, in the books. Finally had off of work for a bit. Unfortunately, I got to go in tonight. But so first things first, NHL. So they're supposed to release the NHL 21 cover and all that shit tonight at 8 Pacific time, I believe, 11 Eastern time. But it seems like they have released the some of the gameplay and a cover athlete in Alexander Ovechkin. What do you think of that?
I was shocked that it was Ovechkin. I thought for sure that they were going to go with a younger player. I thought it was going to be Nathan McKinnon.
That's what I thought too.
I thought it might have been Leon Draisaitl. I mean, he led the league in points this year, so he was definitely an option. I thought they were going to go with a younger player, and I saw today when I got home from work that it was Ovechkin. And I guess, he's in his mid-30s now. He's still leading the league in goals. He's an absolute legend. So it does make sense that you would get a guy like that on. But the fact that, there's so much young talent in the league now, I was really, really surprised they went with an older player like that.
Because I was thinking, McKinnon or, Draisaitl. I was also thinking maybe Aho, because he's had, some pretty good seasons in his first couple years. And, I was thinking it would be one of these young guys because it was, that isn't the slogan, recognize greatness or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but it's something like that.
And I mean, I kind of do get it because Ovechkin is one of a kind hockey player, but I was kind of hoping it would be Sid because I'm a hopeless Penguins fan, and he's never been on the cover of the game yet. Ovechkin, this is, I believe, his second time. I think last one was 2007 that he was on.
Yes.
So, I trust you played a lot of NHL game, the EA Sports NHL 20 or prior editions.
I play a lot of the older games. I haven't played many of the new ones.
So what is your wish list for this? Because I know a lot of people were upset with 20 and how it's basically the same game every year. Maybe a couple new modes here and there. What is your wish list for NHL 21?
Just making the game fun again. Because one of the issues with all of the newer games are that they never really change a whole lot. It's basically a graphics update and a new roster. And that's pretty much it. They haven't added a lot to the game. And it's not even fun to play when you're playing the same thing over and over and over again. My favorite NHL game that I still play to this day is 2004.
I actually haven't played. I don't think I've ever played 2004, actually.
2004 is my favorite NHL game, and that game still holds up today as a really fun game to play. And all these new games, I don't even play them really. I have 14. 14 was, I think, the last really good NHL game. That's when they introduced the Live Your Life mode. or Live the Life, which was basically Be a Pro, but they added more stuff to it. And then now they've gone back to just regular Be a Pro.
Yeah, and it's boring.
It is. It gets really boring, and there's just the games aren't fun anymore, and like they've almost sucked the life out of it to the point where it's just the same thing over and over. And I see it all the time when I talk about gaming stuff on my channel. It's like people don't like the new games, and people would rather go back and play 07 or 09 or 04 or some of these older games that were just more fun to play and not so much focused on, you know, trying to be like this perfect gameplay engine, and just, you know, just being more fun and like you're just hanging out, having some fun. And then they, you know, the old GM modes, they used to call it Dynasty back in the day. Those were really fun. They had all these extra things that I don't even think you can do anymore in the new games. Like,
yeah, with franchise mode, I think now they have added kind of the more GM mode in there, so you can like hire coaches, you can work with the like team store and shit, and you can you know, you can like interview coaches and stuff, but it's not as fun, honestly. Like, I wish they would add the Winter Classic mode, which was my favorite mode. I have no clue why they took that out. NHL 15 was the worst. It was started the downfall of the NHL saga.
Yeah, I stopped buying new games at 14.
Yeah, I mean, we bought them every year since 17. We didn't buy, so we got 13, 14, 16, 17, or no, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, and then 20. I mean, it's basically the same game every year, just a small software update, maybe a new mode here and there. They had World of Chell, which was a pretty fun mode, but it's not, you know, it's not what it used to be with, you know, the Winter Classic mode. You had the Be a Pro mode, which was Live the Life mode. Live the Life mode and Be a Pro are my most played mode on those games, because it's just so much fun. I like the interactivity of the old God, they mixed all the names around Live the Life, you know, where you can do interviews, I believe you could buy things in that game. I could be wrong, but you know, the Live the Life mode was honestly so much fun, and I wish they would just bring that back, or at least update Be a Pro so you can be more interactive with your player, because it just feels like, oh, I'm just controlling one player, and it's because you know, I'll sometimes, you know, bored as crap, I'll do a Be a Pro mode rookie, and then, you know, draft myself to the best team, and I'll try to score as many points as possible. I shit you not, one time I got in one season like 300 some points.
Oh my God!
It was on rookie, and it was so like I averaged like 6 goals a game or something like that.
That's ridiculous.
It was ridiculous, and you know, it was fun. But I wish they would add like statistics, so like, you know, you can beat Gretzky's you know, regular season scoring record, or something like that, something you know, like that, instead of going, oh, well, you scored 100 goals, congratulations, you know, oh, you scored 50 goals, you know, not just doing the milestones like that, but also doing like, you know, passing records, which would just be awesome. You know, which I hope they add in the new game. I saw a sneak peek trailer of the game. The graphics look pretty good. You know, looks like we can do the Svechnikov, you know, Minnesota, or was it a Michigan beat?
Yeah.
And then you can do the what was it?
Kachuk between the legs.
Yeah, you could do that one. And there was another one. It was
yeah, I just watched it. I forgot.
God, was it Kucherov? The Kucherov no deep or no shot deep
on the breakaway? Yes.
I mean, you know, and plus, you know, the games feel less realistic. The graphics are realistic, but like the gameplay and like playing as a player doesn't feel as realistic.
Yeah.
As it used to be.
Yeah.
But you know, because you know, you in I believe it was it 12? I think there was like so many glitches where you can just score easily, and it just makes it fun to try to get those glitches. I think that was the game. There are a couple games that had a lot of glitches in it, but you know, I feel like they should kind of go back to their roots and kind of say, hey, look, this is what the people want. Give the people what they want, because they're just going to stop buying our game. We're going to make the money anyway from, you know, in-game purchases, but you know, it's not the same game.
Yeah. Well, EA just doesn't care. Like, EA doesn't care anymore.
It's very sad that they don't put in the effort that they used to.
Yeah, there's no effort because they used to. The old games actually, I think, are way better, like way more fun to play, and you could tell that they actually cared about the game and they actually put in the effort making it. And now, like, EA knows they're going to sell 1 million copies no matter what. They're going to have all these in-game purchases and all this extra stuff to make loads of money off of, and they can put out the same garbage year in and year out, and all the hockey fans and all the kids are going to buy it anyway. So they don't have to put out a good game because it's going to get bought no matter what. And it sucks, and it's really sad. And I don't play video games a lot. I don't have a lot of time to. But I would not be paying for these games. Like, if I wanted to, like, play a game, I'll just throw on my PS2 and play 2004 and have a lot more fun than playing 20 or 21.
Yeah. I mean, moving from EA, because I feel like we're now EA bashing. So the playoffs, right? So you've been covering the playoffs day in, day out. You've seen a lot of great games. I unfortunately haven't been able to watch a lot of the games, but from what you've seen so far, who do you think has the best chance of winning the cup?
Ooh, that's a good one. This year is pretty wide open. There's a lot of good. All the teams left have looked really good. Every team that's made it this far has made it this far for a reason. They've looked really good. As far as a favorite goes, Colorado was my favorite, and then they come out in game 1 against Dallas and lose, and didn't look all that great. And it's like they were the dominant team. Vegas continues to be dominant. Tampa Bay and Boston both. I mean, they're playing each other right now. I think whoever comes out of that series has a really good shot. You can never count the Flyers. I mean, that's a team that is mastering defensive hockey in these playoffs and playing a lot of really low-scoring games. Islanders are kind of that dark horse team that you wouldn't expect, but they're they dismantled Washington.
They really did.
Washington looked like they weren't even in the same league as the Islanders in that series. So I guess if I had to pick a singular favorite right now, I would say Vegas looks the best out of everybody. But I think every team still in the playoffs at this point has a legitimate shot.
I mean, my pick was, again, Colorado. And Grubauer is now injured.
Yep.
I don't know how. I haven't looked on how long he's going to be out for, but
indefinitely.
Oh, so that's
look good.
That's definitely not a good sign for Colorado. But honestly, Philadelphia surprising everyone this year. Ending up second in Metro, and then for the play-ins, winning that first spot against who was it? Was it
the Lightning in the last game?
Yeah. So they are a team that with the backbone of Carter Hart, who is like I'd say one of the best active goaltenders in the league right now.
Oh, absolutely.
He's 21. He's already set franchise records for the most or the youngest player to record a shutout in their rookie season or whatever.
Yeah.
He's a goaltender that you can't count out. I feel like Philadelphia has a great chance, as much as I hate saying that. As a Penguins fan, I just hate saying that the Flyers have a chance to win the cup. But other than that, I think Tampa is a team that's stacked. Boston's a team that's stacked. As you said, New York is dark horse team. They've got a lot of young talent on that squad, and they've got a team that defies all expectations. You've got the Dallas Stars, who I wasn't shocked that they made the playoffs, but I was honestly shocked they made it this far. Though they have Pavelski, who's one hell of a player. They've got Corey Perry, who's a veteran of God knows how many years. He's been playing forever. And then you got Vegas, they have two fantastic goaltenders.
Yep.
Imagine this though: 3 of his last 4 Stanley Cup runs, Marc-Andre Fleury is a backup goaltender.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh twice, and then he's had 3 cups, right? Yeah, no, he's 3 cups. So cup runs. Last 3 of his 4 cup runs, he was backup. 2 times with Pittsburgh, and then 1 time with Vegas. That's That's just honestly insane to me. He will go down as one of the best backup goaltenders in NHL history.
No, I mean, he's a fantastic goalie too, but Leonard has just been playing ridiculous with Vegas.
Yeah. Fleury's on the trade block now. Last time I saw, if he's traded, who do you think he's going to?
That's tough to say. He's up there in age at this point. He's definitely on the back end of his career. Not sure exactly how old he is, but he's got to be like 35 around there at this point. There's plenty of teams out there that need goaltending, and a guy like Fleury can immediately come in and be either your straight up starter, or if you have it one of those 1A 1B situations, so you kind of have two guys that you can rotate. He can be a great half of a rotation as well. Edmonton immediately comes to mind because they are in desperate need of goaltending. Calgary could certainly use a goalie like Fleury. Obviously some of your lesser teams in the league, they're in need of goaltending help, but I don't know if I could really see Fleury wanting to go to a team like that. I think he's going to want to play on a contender. That's why I think Edmonton, if they don't, especially, the other equation here is the Braden Holtby equation.
Yeah.
Because he's a free agent after this season. And there's going to be a huge market out there for teams that are looking for goaltending. I think are all going to be going after Braden Holtby. I would shy away from Holtby personally. He had a rough year this year. He's 30 now. He's not going to be getting better. Usually after 30, players start going the other way. He had a pretty awful season with the Capitals this year. I don't see him going back to Washington. They don't have the cap space to sign him without making some sort of major move to free up space. So I think that Holtby has been one of the best goaltenders of the past decade in the NHL. He's coming off a really bad year. But there's going to be a market out there for him, and I think you're going to have all of these teams that are looking for goaltending are going to be in on the Braden Holtby sweepstakes this summer. That whoever doesn't get Holtby and misses out, those are your teams that are going to be looking at guys like Fleury, possibly in a trade. And then there's other free agent goaltenders as well. Some more veteran type guys like a Thomas Greiss or a Jimmy Howard or Brian Elliott, those type guys that you could bring in kind of as a backup situation. But Edmonton, Calgary definitely need goaltending. Buffalo, obviously, goaltending is a huge issue for them. But again, does Fleury want to go to a team like Buffalo, who's years away from actually being a contender? Does he want to go to a team like New Jersey, who's not going to be good anytime soon? Detroit needs goaltending, but is Marc-Andre Fleury going to want to go there? I can't see him going to a team like that. I think he's going to want to go to a contender. Maybe the Colorado Avalanche. That's a team that has constantly been in the news. They were in Carey Price rumors basically all season long. Then Henrik Lundqvist rumors when there was talk about the Rangers moving on from Lundqvist. Colorado is a team that right now they have Grubauer. He's been injury prone. They have Francouz, who's the backup, now has to be the starter in these playoffs with Grubauer out. They could kind of use that veteran high-level goaltender. And Fleury could be an interesting piece if he were to go to a team like Colorado, who is a contender already. Never mind if you add Marc-Andre Fleury into the fold there, and has a lot of cap space.
Yeah, last time I checked, I think they have a folder here somewhere. But these teams with a lot of cap are they're going to do a lot of damage in the league because especially teams like Colorado, who has about $22 million in cap. Never mind that they have Nathan McKinnon, Gabriel Landeskog, Cale Makar, all these guys who are going to be running the league and running the show in the next decades. Gabriel Landeskog not as much. He's what, 30 something, right? Or 29 or something like that.
Let's see. He's been in Colorado since he was drafted. I forget what year exactly he was drafted. He's probably 26-ish, something like that. 26, 27 maybe.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
not sure.
27 from Stockholm,
27.
Sweden.
Okay.
So you're actually right on. But I mean, he's a player, he's really good. You got Nate McKinnon, he's going to be a Crosby McDavid type player for his
Absolutely.
whole career. I would actually right now argue that Gabriel Landeskog is better than Connor McDavid right now, which is a hard argument. But when you look at it, Nathan McKinnon is just so fast. He can get the puck off like crazy. He can make a whole bunch of plays. Connor McDavid, I'd say, is more of a scoring machine as opposed to a more pass-oriented, Crosby-esque player.
Yeah, I mean, they're. It's so hard to compare players because they're in such different situations where McDavid has Draisaitl and you have that 1-2 punch down the middle, but then you look at their wingers and you're like, oof, they're not very these aren't top level players that they're playing with. It's with Edmonton, it is McDavid and Draisaitl as far as that offense goes, and it's a whole bunch of third liners after that. With Colorado, you have McKinnon centering this line with two. You have an elite player on his right wing in Mikko Rantanen, and you could say that Rantanen is almost as good of a player as McKinnon, and he has been phenomenal for them over the past 3 seasons. And then you've got Landeskog on the left side, who never has been that elite superstar player, but is a really, really good goal scorer and someone who I would say if you're trying to rank Landeskog in the league, I think he's like that one. He's a little bit down below your elite players, but he's like that next step down. He's kind of like almost a Joe Pavelski type level player, where he's really, really good. He isn't elite, but he's really, really good.
But everyone knows his name.
Yeah, everyone knows Gabe Landeskog, and he's been there through this whole rebuild for the Avalanche. He's been the captain. And now he's finally getting to see the other side of things. But you have McKinnon playing with these great players on his wing, and they create one of the absolute best lines in the entire NHL that we'll probably ever see in the NHL. And, when you look at the players straight up, they're both scoring a ton of points. McDavid and McKinnon both score a ton of points. Both can score goals. Both can get assists. Both are extremely fast. I would say McKinnon's probably better defensively. I think McKinnon's a better all-around player. McDavid struggled in his own zone at times, and that's something that I think he really needs to work on face-offs as well. But again, Crosby, there's always comparison between McDavid and Crosby. Like, McDavid's the next Crosby. Crosby wasn't great defensively early in his career, and he wasn't good in the face-off dot until a few years in. And it takes these guys, you can have all the talent in the world, but you can't do everything at once. And it still takes development. It still takes working on your weaknesses. And I remember, I forget what year it was. It might have been the year between, when the Penguins lost the Cup in 2008 to Detroit and then won it in 2009. I think it was that summer between those two Cup runs that Crosby worked on his faceoffs. That was the main thing he did all summer, was working on his faceoffs, getting better in the faceoff dot. And then he came back the next year and was significantly better defensively and significantly better at taking faceoffs, and they won the Cup. And I think you're going to see that with McDavid. McDavid's got all the talent in the world. This kid is unbelievable. But he still has things that he needs to work on. I think as he continues to develop and grow and get older, he was drafted in 2015, so he's only, 23 years old?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine McDavid at 27, McDavid at 28. He still has room to improve and get even better. McKinnon is right at that level with him, I think. I mean, it's tough to compare them. It's tough to say which one is better or worse. I don't want to put the word worse on any of these guys that we're talking about, because they're all some of the best players to have ever played in the league. And a lot of them are, Crosby's obviously older, but McDavid and McKinnon are both still extremely young and only going to continue to be elite players for the next decade plus. So, I mean, I have McKinnon as the number 3 best player in the NHL right now. My top 3 are McDavid, Crosby, and McKinnon.
I mean, McKinnon and McDavid, they're both really freaking fast, and I honestly
would is unbelievable.
I would like to see a the speed skating competition in the All-Star game, competition between them two. That would be something to just witness. Like, it would just be insane because I've seen both McDavid and McKinnon make plays, and just the sheer amount of speed that those guys have, where they can just weave in and out of people, and just somehow still have the puck skating easily 25 miles an hour, are just, I wouldn't say 25, it's a little much, but I mean, skating easily 20 miles an hour going down the ice is just, those two players are going to be the face of the league. They're going to be the Ovechkin Crosbys of the league. Once both Crosby and Ovechkin retire, they're both going to be the face of the league, I feel like. And then maybe Lafreniere in there.
Yeah, then you've got Lafreniere coming in next year. You've got Austin Matthews in Toronto, who continues to... I mean, Matthews is more of that pure goal scorer, as opposed to being kind of like... He plays center, but his stats-wise, he almost looks like a wing with the goal scoring. I feel like Matthews is kind of that Ovechkin-like player who doesn't really... It's not about the assists, doesn't really get a ton of assists, but is really just pure goal scorer. McKinnon is more like the Crosby McDavid center type, where and I think McKinnon and McDavid are pretty similar in this, where they can score. And I mean, Crosby scored a ton of goals, but they're setup men first. They're playmakers first. They're centers. They play center like your typical center. Where I think Matthews comes into this conversation as more of the Ovechkin type, where it's about the goal scoring. And then, well, we were supposed to have Patrick Laine in this conversation, but he has dropped off over the past couple of seasons.
Like, his first season, his rookie season, really was fantastic.
Unbelievable.
Then he just kind of fell off the face of the planet, him and his beard.
His goal scoring has decreased the last couple of years, and so he's kind of fallen out of this, elite top player type conversation. But he was there when he was drafted, and then another guy that gets thrown into this conversation is Jack Eichel. And what would he be like if he wasn't playing for such a terrible team in Buffalo? What if they actually put a good team around him? I mean, Jack Eichel single-handedly carried that Sabres team last year to any wins that they were able to get. And you got to wonder how good he could be on an actually decent team, because I guarantee you, if Jack Eichel was playing on Edmonton or playing on Colorado or playing in Pittsburgh or Washington or somewhere like that, he would be probably a 100-point player with the talent level that he has. So, and Kucherov, I'm talking about all these great players. You got Kucherov in Tampa Bay, who I think at this point is definitely overtaken Steven Stamkos as the Lightning's best player. He's another guy who he's a little bit older than like the McDavid and Eichels and them, but he's not. He's probably pretty close to the same age as McKinnon, around there, maybe a couple years older. But he's probably only like 26 or 27 still now. So there's so many good players. It's hard to rank them, honestly. I don't like doing ranking stuff because you could throw at least 5 or 6 guys in front of me as far as like best players in the league, and I could put them in pretty much any order and make an argument for that order. So ranking all these guys, it's really hard. It's more just watching how great they are and the fact that they're all elite players in the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just insane to kind of see, the young generation of this league that's going to just kind of, shovel through the trying to find a good analogy for it, but they're gonna just pave the way. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
they pave the way for the new NHL, the young NHL, because it seems like we're seeing a lot more young superstars as opposed to older guys, Crosby, Malkin, Ovechkin, all the guys who are either in or past their prime. But I could still argue that they're all still in their prime. Ovechkin, he was second in points or something like that this year.
He was tied for the league in goals.
Yeah,
he won. He co-won the Rocket Richard Trophy with 48 goals this year.
I mean, and even in how many games they played? 52 games.
I'm not sure how many Washington played. Most teams played around 70 games.
Oh yeah.
They played they had pretty much most teams had around 12 games left when the season was stopped.
Yeah, for some reason I was thinking about it was in the league stoppage was much earlier.
No, it was pretty close to the end, actually. There was about
Yeah,
a month left of the season.
I mean, it's incredible, just to say the least. Like a 36-year-old leading the NH tying for the most goals in the NHL
Goals in
season.
the league, yeah.
I
It's
mean,
unreal.
yeah, I mean, and we got all these young players that are going to take that mantle. They're going to. I'm sure people are going to surpass Ovechkin in being the best Russian goal scorer. Because though Ovechkin's a different breed. Like there's very few people that come close to him, and his sheer ability to score, and from the same damn spot too. It's from the
Yep.
same spot, and people have not learned that he goes to this the point, or not the point,
Top of the
the top of
circle
the circle
every time.
every time, able to somehow. You'd think that goalies would learn. Say, hey, look, that's Ovechkin on the ice. Where should we stand, or where should we, block so that Ovechkin cannot score? He just seems to find all these spots in the net and just put it in, whether it be, the 7 hole, or, just be, anywhere. Honestly, he can accurately put the puck in. I'd argue that he's one of the most accurate slap shots in the league.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. Ovechkin might be the best pure goal scorer to have ever played in the NHL, and I don't like doing the comparing. I don't like comparing players in general. Then it gets impossible to compare players from different eras. So when you look back, obviously Gretzky has the goal record, but hockey in the 80s was totally different than hockey now. Goal scoring was through the roof back then. You got to wonder if Ovechkin had played back in Gretzky's era in the 80s and 90s, what would his goal totals look like?
Oh
What would his
God,
point totals look like?
he would easily have 1,000 goals easily.
I think he would be definitely the number one goal scorer in league history. So, the fact that he's played now at a time where goal scoring is down. Now, the last, I want to say 3 to 4 years, goal scoring has started to really tick back up again, like noticeably more goals in the league. But for the first part of Ovechkin's career, from when he was drafted, in the mid 2000s through probably 2015 is, I guess, when the shift really started again, and you started going back up in the goal totals around the league. So for the first decade of his career, you were still at a time where goal scoring was at, an all-time low, at least for the modern era of the NHL, and he was still able to put up those goal numbers. So, everyone, the debate's always, who's the greatest goal scorer of all time. And it's really impossible. You've got players from the 50s and 60s. You've got players from the 80s and 90s. You've got players from now. And hockey was so different during all of those eras that it's really impossible to compare them. But I would say I think Ovechkin is probably the best pure goal scorer to ever play in the NHL.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's able to score some stylish goals, but most of the time he scores his goals from the same spot every time. With you see the goal scoring with Matthews. Matthews has great hands, and he can find a place to put the puck every time, and which is just mind-boggling that he can make these beautiful plays and beautiful goals, and just be able to keep on doing that time and time again. Because people still haven't been able to really figure him out. I mean, then again, he's a young guy, so that's hard. But he's again going to be probably an Ovechkin-esque player. I don't think he's going to be as good as Ovechkin, but I think he's going to be able to score like an Ovechkin-esque player.
Yeah, Matthews, I think, is definitely that pure goal scorer coming up that I look at as he's probably going to be the guy that dominates the Rocket Richard Trophy over the next 10 to 15 years. David Pastrnak with Boston is definitely in that conversation as well, as he had a monster year this year. This was really his big breakout was this season. But I think Matthews is going to be the guy that kind of takes over for Ovechkin as that elite goal scorer, that number one goal scoring player in the league. But we don't know about some of these other guys that are going to be coming in over the next couple of years. Maybe some of them could end up even pushing Matthews out of that spot. I mean, the future in the NHL is so bright. We're seeing these younger players playing at such a high level at such an earlier age. I mean, back in the day, sure, you had a few guys here and there that could immediately come in and be superstar players. Like when Crosby, Malkin, Ovechkin, when they all came in, they were immediately superstar players. But now you're seeing more and more people at 18, 19, 20 years old coming in and putting up huge numbers right away like we've never seen before. And there's no reason to think that that's going to stop. And, I'm really excited about what the future of the NHL is going to look like, because if we have, these McDavids and Matthews and Eichels and Laine's and these guys coming in now, think about, what's it going to be 5 years from now? Are these kids are we going to have 18-year-olds come in and be 100-point players out of the gate like that? I mean, that would just be absolutely incredible, but it definitely seems possible with the way that the league is going. And there's so much young talent here. And it's really, really exciting to watch and be a fan of and see where these players' careers go, because we know, Crosby has 3 cups now. We've got Malkin right along with Crosby, 3 cups now. Ovechkin got his Stanley Cup in 2018 and continues to be the best goal scorer in the league. But these guys are all, in their 30s now. Ovechkin's 35, 36. Crosby's
35. I think Ovechkin's 36. Crosby's 35. Malkin 32. I think, because I know his birthday was the 30th of July. I think he's third. He was drafted. No, he's 36 because he came in with.
Yeah, Malkin's a year older than Crosby.
That's right. Because I know didn't he spend his first season, I think the 2008 or 2005 season in the minors, I believe, and then next year 2006 he came up. Was named assistant cap, or was he assistant captain when he came up? I don't remember. But I mean, with Lafreniere coming up, New York is going to be a beast this next year. I know I said that last year, that they were going to be a beast last year with Capo Caco, but now having Alexis Lafreniere, who put up 77 points, I think, or 77 goals, I think, or no, assists, and like 35 goals or something like that in like 52 games or some shit like that.
Yeah, he was insane in junior.
New York their rebuild has severely just like shot up. I feel like they can be a cup contender next year. Get a couple pickups. They've got really young and really good goaltending. They've got these guys. Panarin, who's making a shitload of money. Very good player. You got great players beside him. Maybe pick up some more defense here and there, and I think they're good. I think they can be a cup contender next year.
Yeah, the Rangers are in unreal shape. I actually did a video on that on my channel before we ever knew that Lafreniere was going there. I said the Rangers have the brightest future in the NHL just because their entire defense core, with the exception of Mark Stahl, was 25 years old or younger. They've got Panarin locked up long term. They've got Mika Zibanejad playing down the middle. He had a 40-goal season this year. He's been unreal. They've got Capo Caco, who had a pretty quiet rookie season. But again, it's another thing that happens is the expectations for these rookies that come in are so high now because we have so much young talent in the league and so many guys are able to come in at 18 and 19 and put up these huge numbers. When they don't, all of a sudden it seems like an issue. Capo Caco is going to be a really, really good player. He only had 23 points in his first season. He wasn't really playing a big role offensively on that team, and he's going to take some time to develop. He's going to be a star down the line. Now you have Lafreniere coming in. Their left wing depth and their top 6 is going to be Artemi Panarin and Alexis Lafreniere. as their top two left wings next season. They have Mika Zibanejad in the middle. They've got Pavel Buchnevich and Capo Caco on the right side. Ryan Strome right now is their second-line center. I think they could try and upgrade that position. That's an area that they could improve. But offensively, this Rangers team is absolutely stacked. We know the goaltending, they're all set in goal. We don't know what's going to happen with the Lundqvist situation. He's obviously well past his prime now. He still has a year left on his contract. They're going to have to do something with him, either trade him, buy him out, do something. But Shesterkin is the future in goal there, and Shesterkin is probably going to be the starter next year. He's only 24 years old, I believe, so they've got great young goaltending. Georgiev's there as well. He'll probably be the backup unless they end up moving him and keeping Lundqvist. But, they're set in goal. They're up front, just absolutely loaded up front. Defense is a question with that team. Jacob Trouba did not have a great first year with the team. He kind of struggled this year. He was brought in to kind of be that elite guy, and I don't know how I feel about Jacob Trouba being my number one. I think he's better off as a number three. But, they're all 25 years old or younger. They've got Adam Fox, who was just had an unreal season. He was probably their best defenseman this season, and it was his rookie year. Tony DeAngelo, another breakout season from him, 50-plus points, the first time he's ever put up numbers like that at the NHL level. Ryan Lindgren, who plays with Fox, very much their defensive defenseman. He's in his early 20s as well. He's kind of that shutdown type guy. He's not going to put up a lot of points, but he's going to be your D-zone guy that you focus on to play physical, kill penalties, and, actually take care of the defensive zone and not focus on scoring as much. I mean, they're loaded up and down that lineup with young talent. They've got good veterans there as well. Chris Kreider, Mark Stahl on the back end. They've got some veteran guys on that team who can kind of help the younger guys get, acclimated to the NHL and just kind of be a mentor there for them. Some good depth as well. So when I look at that Rangers team, it's only a matter of time before they really explode to the top of the league, I think. They have so much young talent there. They've got a bunch of prospects as well that aren't even playing at the NHL level yet. They've got Lafreniere coming in. They are going to be a top team in the Eastern Conference for a long, long time.
So this Montreal Canadiens team, though, we beating the Penguins, which I thought was going to be impossible. They beat the Penguins. They took the Flyers to Game 6.
Yep.
This Montreal team, though, is again a very young team and a very talented team. And, I've heard that they're going to try to make a move to get that first pick. They're going to try to trade something. I doubt it's going to happen. But, this Montreal team is something that, is bright for Montreal, because they've been kind of like middle of the squad, middle of the pack, for years. This was really their first year to, make decent moves in the playoffs and make some noise. With Jesperi Kotkaniemi, like he scored like 2 goals in like 2 games or whatever. He's a great young forward a great young center for that team. I think he's going to be someone to build around. I don't think he's going to be superstar level, but I feel like he's going to be definitely a leader and definitely a quality player in Montreal.
Yes.
And Carey Price stood on top of his head during that series. He did all he could to, try to save his team, try to, advance them to the second round, but wasn't able to sustain or hold off the Flyers. But, this Montreal team, again, Max Domi, who is probably going to be the odd man out. Max Domi, he's a really good player. Very, he's a class act. He's a great guy to have in the locker room. And I feel like, he might stay in Montreal. And if he does, being I believe a third line center, I think, third or second line center, he's a great guy. He's an older guy. He's been there, done that. He's played for some crappy teams in the past, but I feel like, this will finally be his like quote unquote big break, because he played with I think he came over from a trade with Arizona, I believe.
Arizona, yeah.
And Arizona, they didn't do as well as I thought they were going to do this year. Honestly, you know, I mean, no one's going to beat the Colorado Avalanche in when they're fully staffed and fully stacked. But I mean, Tyler Hall, Phil Kessel, I miss you, Phil. But you got was it Hill? Was Hill in that for Colorado? Darcy Kemper, yeah, that's right. Who does Hill play with? I keep blanking on his first name.
Aiden Hill.
Yeah,
he's like the third string goalie in Arizona.
Okay, because
Kemper and Ronta are the top.
That's
two,
right.
And then Kemper was hurt for a lot of this year, which really hurt them in the regular season.
But Kemper, he played.
He was unreal in the playoffs.
I was honestly shocked that they were able to take, especially with him in net, not having a really good season. That weighs a lot on a goaltender, not having a good season. He took, was it Colorado to Game 6, I believe? Game 5. A lot of these series, the round 1 was very quick. Because a lot of it was either a sweep or 4-1, 4-1 series victory. I can't believe the Capitals were knocked out of the playoffs. Much less the Penguins. The Capitals, with that first line of Kuznetsov, Tom Wilson, and Alex Ovechkin. With a top line like that, you shouldn't be knocked out of the playoffs by fifth seed.
6th seed Islanders.
Yeah, they shouldn't have been knocked out by Islanders, but I can't say much because the Penguins lost to a 12 seed. But and hell, even with the Penguins, when you got a power play of you got Sidney Crosby, Malkin, Gensel, you got Letang in there, and then you got Jason Zucker, I believe, or is it Gensel? But I mean, when you got a power play like that, you shouldn't be losing games. You should be scoring almost every single time on the power play. And I feel like, a lot of these older teams, a lot of these teams that have been dominant in the past aren't going to be as dominant anymore because, they're aging, they're going to have to make a lot of moves in order to, build around that same player that they've been building around for, their last 10, 15 years. Because they gotta evolve for the future if they want to be good in the future. They can't just see the same faces, very good faces, but they need to build for the future, and they can't just rely on these older veterans because they're going to start fizzling out soon. I see Crosby's career kind of going down a little bit. He hasn't had a really good season since 2015. He's had some decent seasons here and there, but not to the level that he used to play. Ovechkin, he's still going up and up and up, and he's still going to be a fantastic player. Malkin, he had a much better season this year than last year, I feel like. But I mean, injuries definitely have been a problem for the Penguins squad. I was honestly shocked that they didn't make it to that first round, but I think shit happens.
Yeah.
I mean, in Boston, Boston's always going to be they've been a good team for the past 10 years. They just haven't, they've only won the one cup in 2011.
Yes.
Right. I'm sure you were quite happy about that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, I know we talked about who do you think is going to win the cup. So who do you think is going to win the East and the West? Who do you think the final is going to come down to?
My original predictions at the start of the playoffs was Colorado and Tampa Bay, and both of those teams are still in it so far. So I'm not going to change anything, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to say Avalanche, Lightning, and the Lightning are my cup pick this year. I think they get redemption after the incredible choke job they had last year.
What are you talking about? That's the last 5 or 3 of the last 5 playoffs they've choked.
Yeah, last year was by far the worst.
Oh, yeah.
When they were the best team in the league and they got swept in the first round. You don't see that very often.
By a team that's never won a first round. They advanced the second round for the first time in franchise history. That does not happen every day.
No, not at all. But they played Columbus again in the first round this year, and they won in 5 games. And I think now that they're past Columbus, they've kind of exercised that demon. And, they're such a talented team from top to bottom. And the thing about Tampa Bay is it's not just offense. It's not just defense. They have the whole package there. They've got elite goaltending. They've got an incredible defense core, and they've got all the talent in the world up front. So I think Tampa really finally gets that redemption, and they've been labeled a choker for years now in the Eastern Conference. And if you remember, Washington had that choker label forever. It was always the Capitals. They get into the playoffs. They're always one of the top teams in the regular season, and then they get into the playoffs and just shit the bed. And now Tampa Bay, the Capitals won in 2018, and now Tampa Bay has kind of taken over that choker label. Caps won in 2018. They were able to shake that label. They were able to win a cup. I think it's I would not be surprised at all if Tampa gets it done this year. And this is a team that can, finally shake that off, finally get through those tough series that they haven't been able to get through it to this point. And this Tampa Bay team this year is much tougher, much grittier, much more ready for playoff style hockey. And the way that you need to play in the playoffs if you're going to win. And, they've been my cup pick from the start, and I'm sticking with them. I really like the Lightning this year to finish off that redemption story after what happened last year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they went 62, but then they, tie for the most, most points and wins.
The most wins ever.
Yeah. They were really good last year. Then they get swept by a, bottom of the league team, or barely in the playoff team, and because they got in by points, and they just beat out the Canadiens for that spot, right?
They just got ahead of Montreal to get that last wild card spot last year.
I mean, so my picks, I really like how Vancouver is playing now. The question is if they're going to be able to beat Avalanche. If because they're playing the Canucks are playing the
Vegas
that's right, yeah, Vegas. So I mean, both very good teams, and Vancouver's had a terrible last couple of years. Last time they went to the Cup final was against Boston 2011. And they had that's when they had the Sedin brothers. They had all this great talent, but now they've got a lot of young talent, not more veteran talent. They've got Elias Pettersson, who is probably going to be in that talk for the top couple NHL players in the next couple of years. Got Bo Horvat, and you've got all these really good forwards and a lot of scoring potential. You got Jacob Markstrom in the back end. He's always a guy that you can lean on. I feel like Vancouver has a shot if they can beat Vegas. I think it's going to come down to Colorado, Vancouver in this Western final. But I do agree that of the 4 teams left in the Eastern Conference, I feel like Tampa Bay is the most appealing to win the Cup, and I feel like they have a better shot at winning the Cup than everyone else.
Yeah, no, Tampa is definitely, they're just loaded throughout that roster. And they don't even have Steven Stamkos right now. Stamkos hasn't played since the beginning of March, and he's still out injured. And they've been able to, rip through everyone still, even without Stamkos. So only imagine if he comes back and gets added to that lineup with what they already have, how lethal that team is.
Yeah, I mean, and as we said earlier, all these players that are coming up and able to play at a younger age, honestly, I feel like both Detroit and Ottawa were snubbed of that first pick. I think it's ridiculous that they didn't get the, one of those two did not get the first pick, because Detroit just shit the bed this season. I feel like Dylan Larkin might be traded this season, maybe. They've got a lot of cap space. I think they've got over, I think it was close to 30 million in cap, I believe. Let me actually check on that real quick. But I mean, yeah, they've got 35 million in cap. They need to trade something in order to get some quality players. They've got one good player, 2 good players. on that squad. Ottawa, I mean, they're as I always say, Chris Kunitz ended the Ottawa Senators 2017, that double overtime game in the Eastern Conference Final. Chris Kunitz ended their organization. I feel like Ottawa needed Lafreniere, so did Detroit. But I mean, I guess they can't complain with a top like 2 picks in the top 5. With number 5 and number 3 respectively. Ottawa is going to be they're going to be terrible for a while. Same thing with Detroit, unless they can do something surprising in the off season. Because they need goaltending, because they're not going to re-sign. What's his face?
Jimmy Howard.
Jimmy Howard. Yeah, it was on the tip of my tongue. I couldn't think of it. He's gone. I feel like they need to wake up, and they need to like try to rapid rebuild and get more picks. Because if they for Dylan Larkin, you can get a lot for a player like him. He hasn't been good with the Red Wings because he hasn't had a good setup around him, a good squad around him. I can't tell you the last time we made it to the playoffs with Dylan Larkin.
2016.
Yeah,
Larkin's rookie year.
I mean that's what 4 years ago now, and they were a playoff regular. They've been a playoff regular, and they've always had that reputation of being one of the top teams in the league. With having Zetterberg, having Steve Yzerman, all these former players who were just so freaking good. I mean, that then again, it comes with being an original 6 team, but Detroit is. I feel like the situation there is they need to find the light at the end of the tunnel and try to prevail, because they got the new arena and everything, but they don't have a good squad. They don't have people to fill those seats because they're so bad.
Yeah, Detroit is heavily in a rebuild at this point. And one of the biggest problems with the Red Wings was we knew that this was coming. That was a team that had made the playoffs 25 straight years. They were a good team year in and year out. But Datsuk went back to Russia as he was getting older. Zetterberg had major back injuries. He ended up being forced to retire. Lidstrom was gone. Kronwall was retiring. Everyone got old. They were an old team, and we knew that the rebuild needed to come, but the Red Wings as an organization refused to believe that they actually needed to rebuild, and they tried to put this team together in like 2016, 2017, around there, that they should have been starting their rebuild then. Instead, they were trying to hang on to a playoff spot. It didn't work. Now they are deep into rebuild mode here in Detroit, and it's going to be a while, but they have a lot of young talent. Their minor league system has a lot of good young players in it. They've had quality draft picks over the past couple of years. You've got Larkin, Bertuzzi, and Mantha up front is a great line. They played really well this year. Unfortunately for the Red Wings, that's pretty much the only line they have. The rest of the team is a bunch of guys that barely even belong in the NHL, and they have a lot that they need to build around. Philip Hronek on the back end, I think, is a really good young defenseman, but again, that's pretty much their only good young defenseman. So they got the number 4 pick in this year's draft. I don't know if they're going to take Drysdale, if they're going to take Marco Rossi, if they're going to take Lucas Raymond. They have options with that pick. But we'll see who they take. They're going to get a really good player. They have some good young prospects up in the system already, but it's going to be a process with Detroit. It's going to be a process. It's going to be a few years before they're able to actually contend as a playoff-level team again. They've just got to focus on rebuilding. And Steve Yzerman, now their general manager, he is the guy who built this Tampa Bay Lightning team. The Lightning were absolutely horrible when he took over in the late 2000s, and he built this Lightning team into what it is now. And I completely trust that he can do the same thing with the Red Wings. It's just going to take time. They are not going to be good next year. They're not going to be good probably the year after. They have a lot that they still need to get put into place. But I think down the road you'll see Detroit come out of this rebuild as a good team again. Ottawa is much further along than Detroit. Ottawa, could be a playoff team within the next couple of years. They have so much young talent in that system right now. I could pull up the list of just prospects that they have right now, but obviously they're building around Brady Tkachuk. They've got 2 top 5 picks in this year's draft. You know, they're going to get either Byfield or Stützle, whoever doesn't go number 2. They're going to take it number 3. They'll get to pick again at 5, where, you know, who knows who will still be on at that point, but they're likely to get either Lucas Raymond, Marco Rossi, Jamie Drysdale, Cole Perfetti should still be on the board at that point. They've got so many options there. They got 2 more coming in. They're building around Brady Tkachuk. They have Colin White. They have Logan Brown in the system, Josh Norris in the system, Eric Brandstrom in the system as a great up-and-coming defenseman. And they've already got Thomas Chabot on the back end, who they've signed to an 8-year extension. He is going to be the future of that team as far as number 1 defenseman goes. There's so much talent coming up with Ottawa. They are in very good shape. They and the LA Kings, with the prospect pool that they have, as far as like teams that were really, really bad this year that I think can make quick turnarounds and be good within the next couple of years. I think Ottawa is going to be good very quickly, and I think LA has a chance to do a similar thing with their prospect pool. Detroit, it's definitely going to be a little bit longer of a process for, because they're not as far along in this rebuild process. They don't have the same level of prospects right now, so they need to work on, you know, just building through the draft and getting those prospects into their system.
Yeah, because, I mean, the draft and free agency are the 2 biggest team builders, you know, pretty much the only 2 team builders. Trades are up there, but, you know, trades are big trades and very beneficial trades are very, you know, often hard to come by. Yeah, because, you know, you don't, it's not every day that you see, you know, a huge like blockbuster trade that benefits both teams. You know, the last really big trade, Taylor Hall. That's a really last big trade, I feel like. PK Subban, I mean, you know, he's honestly, like, he's a very funny person. He's a great locker room guy, but his defense has just fallen off the planet. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he's traded away out of New Jersey this summer, or, you know, during the season next season. You know, and everyone thought that New Jersey was going to be a very, very good team this year. You know, with getting Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes, I feel like, was a draft bust. Honestly, like he should have been taken second, maybe third. But, you know, I mean, he's still a very, very good player. But as you said earlier, you know, players need to, you know, adapt and need to develop before taking that top NHL spot. But, you know, I feel like out of the gate, Kaapo Kakko had a better season, and he's much more of a more dynamic player, I feel like, than Jack Hughes.
I mean, Hughes had a rough year, but he was on a terrible team. That New Jersey team was atrocious this season. It's way too early to be passing judgment on anyone that was drafted last year. These are kids. These are literal teenagers that are trying to play in the NHL. And Hughes, people are giving up on Jack Hughes way, way, way too soon. He had, I forget what, I don't know his exact point total. I know Kaapo Kakko had 23. Hughes had slightly less than that. Neither of them put up numbers that you've come accustomed to from top 2 picks.
Yeah.
We're used to 50, 60-point seasons from these guys, and both of them had less than 25 points this year. It's, again, they need time to develop. I wouldn't be passing any judgment at least until their first entry-level contract is up, and we get to see them over the course of 3 years and how much they improve and how much they get better. Because when his initial rookie contract is up, he's still only going to be 21 years old. But, you know, New Jersey, this was a disaster of a season for the New Jersey Devils. This was a team that, after the offseason that they had, bringing in PK Subban, bringing in Wayne Simmons up front, which I don't know why they thought Simmons was going to be an impact player up front, because he is well past his prime. The 30-goal days of Simmons with the Flyers are long over. He's a shell of his former self at this point. New Jersey was supposed to be good. They have the young players. They've got Heischer and Hughes and Jesper Bratt and all these other young guys up front. Nikita Gusev coming in. They've got Subban now on the back end. They've got, Will Butcher and Damon Severson and these other guys on the back end that were supposed to be good. Mackenzie Blackwood in goal. And they completely just crapped out this season. It was an awful year for New Jersey. I think Subban is one of the most overrated players in the entire NHL. I've never been a big fan of his. But at this point, I never really liked him, but at least he used to be a good player. When he was, in Montreal and even in Nashville, he was a good player. He was horrendous this season with the Devils. And I don't know if he's going to bounce back from that. I don't know if they're going to try and move on from him and trade him somewhere. I don't know, what's going to happen with that, but he was terrible this season. And the Devils in general were terrible this season. It led to pretty much everyone on that team having really, really bad years.
Yeah, I mean, I was honestly surprised when I realized, wow, the Devils are actually doing terrible because, with Nikita Gusev, he's one of the leading goal scorers in the KHL the year prior. Shit the bed this year. He still did okay, but it wasn't to what everyone expected, and then just making all those trades that we thought were like, oh my God, they're going to be so good. They are I've even seen videos where people thought they were going to be cup contenders, and I'm like, and now looking back, I'm like, this team was like, I don't know how this team could flop like that. I mean, you got again PK Subban, who's one of the I'd say when he was in Montreal, one of the top prospects of one of the best defenders in the league. But then he just kind of this year was just terrible for him. I mean, awesome. when he was in Nashville, I mean, he was that really good locker room guy, and he just he was a character on and off the ice, and I am actually surprised that he was traded out of Nashville, to be honest. And how Nashville losing to the rival, the Arizona Coyotes, in the play-ins, that was a wake-up call for that team, because they've always been, for the past couple of years, they've been a deep playoff run team. 2017 making the final, losing to the eventual back-to-back champions, the Penguins, which I love to rub that in. But the Nashville, I was actually shocked, that because they had a pretty good regular season, I feel like, they just had a really good season, I feel like.
Hey guys, so we're gonna take a quick break from this episode of the podcast to get a word from one of our sponsors, Anchor. So Anchor has been helping us create this podcast for you guys for the past couple months, and we want to really thank them. It's an awesome tool to use. It's free. I mean, seriously, who can argue with something being free? All right, I love free stuff. It's free, seriously free. I'm not joking. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer, which I do both. I actually do both a lot of the times. Anchor can and will distribute your podcast for you. So you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and quite a few more. And if you want, you can do it yourself. You can distribute to other websites as well. Now, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. I'm going to repeat that. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And it's really everything you need to make a podcast in one place. You got, editing tools, you got, background music, you've got, you can get voice messages from your listeners, and it's great. It's a great thing. It's a great tool. So make sure you go download that free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Now, let's get right back into the show.
Hey guys, so before we get into this episode, I would like to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, NIST, KNIST. They are an awesome slingshot company that I've been partnered with for quite some time, and they have opened up shop on their updated website at knist.online. I'm pretty sure you all know how to spell online, so I'm not going to spell that. So they sell slingshots, steel balls, and band sets. They just came out with a new slingshot called the Maverick. The original slingshot, the original NIST slingshot, is about $6.99 on their website, and they've got the band sets for $4.99, and they've also got a pack of steel balls for $8.99. So please, please go check them out. They're a great company, and they have some amazing slingshots. So take my word for it and go check them out. So with that being said, guys, go check them out now. So we're back from commercial break. We got a hold of Jon. We had problems with our iPhone. The FaceTime wasn't working. Just disconnected. So what we're going to do, we're going to roll on with doing a just regular call. So right now we're going to talk about Jon's YouTube channel, which is definitely a big part of his life. It's called Off the Wall Hockey. I mentioned before that it had over 2K subscribers. So Jon, tell us and just kind of walk through on how, why you started it, how you started it, and kind of, what motivates you to get up out of bed and do these games.
Yeah, so the channel started my senior year of college. I mean, I've been a hockey fan my entire life, and I went to school for communication at Worcester State in Massachusetts, and I started watching The Hockey Guy, who I'm sure pretty much everyone knows The Hockey Guy. He's got like 150,000 subs or something like that, but he's definitely like the biggest marquee hockey YouTuber on YouTube. And I started watching his channel right before the start of the season, the 2017-18 season. And I just saw what he was doing, and I had never been like an in front of the camera type person before. I had never like wanted the spotlight, so to say. I had never like wanted to be on camera in front of people or anything like that. I knew nothing of video editing. I knew nothing about like doing video in general. I had never even really made a video before. But I saw his channel and how simple yet great it was without all the added stuff of video editing and special effects. That was literally just him in a webcam, and he just talked, and he'd talk about everything hockey related, all history stuff, current stuff, rosters, teams, everything hockey related you can find on his channel. And it was so simple yet effective at the same time, where it's just him talking into a camera. Occasionally now he uses a whiteboard a lot more. Back then it was more occasional, but he'd have the whiteboard out where he could just write down anything that he needed, a visual for. And I saw that, and I thought, maybe doing, video isn't as hard as I thought that it would be. And I just, I was at school. I wasn't, other than going to class, I didn't have a whole lot of other stuff going on. It wasn't on a sports team, wasn't in any clubs or anything. So outside of class, I really didn't have a whole lot much else to do other than just kind of hang out with my friends and stuff like that. So I thought, I've been a hockey fan my whole life. I used to write about hockey all the time. I was a writer. I started writing pretty much like freshman year of high school. I wrote for my cousin's sports blog, and I was always a writer. But I never had even really thought about doing video until I saw The Hockey Guy, and then I saw his channel, and I really thought to myself, like, hang on here, we could have like this is something that I could definitely do. Like, this is something that isn't as difficult as I thought. It's not as in-depth as I thought. Like, I could actually possibly do this. So I started recording videos literally in my college dorm room, and they were very bad. Going back and looking at them now is hilarious, just how bad I was in front of the camera and how the videos all came out. But it was literally nothing. It was me sitting at my desk in my dorm room and just talking into the camera, and that was literally it. And it was interesting to start because I did not have that on-screen personality. I was a very shy and like quiet kid. I was not very outgoing. I wasn't definitely not any sort of extrovert. Never, like I said, wanted to be like on camera or anything like that. And it was a slow start, but then, the more I did it, the more I liked it. And once we got to the 2018 playoffs, the channel really started to grow and get bigger and take off a little bit. And at that point, it became a lot of fun. And, it's just kept growing from there, and I've kept trying to get better at it. I added a lot more stuff in on the channel, do a lot more editing stuff now, and can add all these graphics in and things that I never could before. And it's come a long way in the last, almost 3 years now. But it's been a lot of fun, and I just hope it continues to grow and see how big it can get and how far this can go.
I mean, because I've been in on some of your streams lately, and it just seems like, from what you're describing is, we all were like that, with my old YouTube videos, they were cringe and they were kind of like, I don't like watching them. It's kind of just annoying because we all have to adapt to that on-screen personality. Because if you're, doing communications, like what I want to do, I want to do like radio and hopefully sports broadcasting in the future. But, you always got to learn that on-screen persona, and you've got to kind of like say, like, I don't like this. Let's change this, and then maybe we can, have better on-screen personality. And, in your streams, they're quite fun, actually. Unfortunately, I can't pull up the clip here, but the other night I was in the stream, and some kid kept on. He was spamming the chat, right, with basically self-promo, and he would like create a new account and do the same thing. And
yes, he was a troll, straight up internet troll.
I mean, you had a 5-minute rant. It was about 5-minute rant of this. In your own words, you eviscerated this kid. It was quite funny, and I feel like, you gotta always bring that, life into the stream, and you always have those people that are like annoying as fuck and just like will just troll. But you genuinely seem to have a lot of fun with it, and especially when you get the donos, like you will, like your whole like facial feature, like everything just changes, and you're like even more excited, and it feels like, and you it's very engaging. You're very engaging with the people watching your stream. That's what a lot of people like, being engaging, being recognized. When I'll enter the stream, or someone else enters a stream, you'll like stop what you're doing and then like just welcome, and you're very welcoming. And that's what I feel like what a lot of people like about your channel, and which it's very entertaining, because it's not the normal, just like, it's not like your quote unquote radio show. It's more of a, you're watching me do this, but I can also, interact with the fans. And that's something that, a play-by-play guy who, Mike Milbury, who actually got released by NBC for making some not so epic gamer comments. But
yes.
You'll be like a Doc Emmerich type guy, but you can also engage with people. You could be Eddie O, but engage with people. And I feel like that's a direction that a lot of people would take, because you can talk to people as well as doing the thing you love and watching the thing you love.
Yeah, there's two huge things that I've learned on YouTube and just doing this kind of content. The first one is about the personality, and just like, basically I learned to just be open and like be myself on camera. And like I said, when I was growing up, when I was a kid, and even all the way through high school and most of college, I never, ever thought that I would be like an on-camera type person or some sort of personality that was putting myself out there in front of people. I was a very quiet and reserved, shy kid, and just kind of I was that kid that sat in the back of the class and was just really quiet and didn't bother anyone, didn't really say much. And I learned on YouTube, because my early videos were, that kid. That kid was who I was in those early videos. And I would go on, I'd turn the camera on, and I'd say like, all this, whatever statistics I have to say or whatever, and do the video. But there wasn't a lot of personality behind it. And what I learned mostly from doing the live streams, which I started during the 2018 playoffs, was that if you really like just be yourself, like open up, be yourself, and actually let your personality shine through the camera rather than just, you know, sitting there and reading off statistics or saying, I think this team is good because, you know, this team's not good because, like, rather than just doing that, like, almost like scripted, like, nothing I do on my channel is scripted, but almost like has that scripted feel to it where you're just like going like block by block, like I have to say this, I have to say that. When you stop doing that and actually just like let your personality shine through and say just what's on your mind and just kind of go with it and run with it, you get a lot more of a reaction from people, and people feel, I think, like you're a lot more authentic and real when you do that, as opposed to if you're just like reading off a paper like, hey, this guy has this many goals. Anyone can do that. What's going to make you stand out is when you have that personality behind it, when people are watching you and they almost feel like this guy I would be friends with, or like this guy I would love to hang out with, more so than just worrying about the hockey aspect of it. Obviously, we're all on the channel because we love hockey, and that's what we're here for. But when you add that personality element in, it really takes everything to the next level. And I think that's where the channel has really started to grow, is because of the personality element. And the other thing, other than just showing your personality, the other thing that's really, really stood out to me is the fan engagement. Like, you have to, people want to be recognized, people want to be noticed. Like, if I just sat there and called the game and completely ignored the chat or everything going on around it from all the people watching, no one would really, like, it would just be sitting there watching somebody calling this game as it happened. But when you add in the fan interaction and you talk to the people in the chat and you call them by name and say hi to them as they come in or say bye when they leave, like, that's a whole new level of like personal connection with them. And then not only are you just this guy on YouTube or, you know, on whatever screen you're watching on, you know, calling this hockey game, you're like a real person. And that goes into the whole, people who watch you start to think, you know, I'd like to be friends with him. I would hang out with this guy. Like, he has a fun personality. Like, he's a cool guy. On top of just being like, you know, doing the hockey stuff, you now have a more personal connection with all the people that are watching you and in the chat. And I think that is something that those viewers really, really like and want to be a part of. And, you know, that's something that I've learned, you know, never ignore the chat. Even though sometimes you might be in the middle of a play, you know, there might be a lot going on. Sometimes you got to kind of focus on the game. But when you're at a commercial break, when you're at a stoppage between whistles, like, you look at the chat, talk to the people in the chat, engage with them. And if you're engaging with them, they are much more likely to be engaging back with you. And that is how you get more subscribers. That is how you get people to regularly watch the channel, because you're not just some guy watching a hockey game. You're actually talking to them, having a conversation with them, and they start to, you know, not just enjoy your content, but enjoy your personality and you on a more personal level.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've seen some of the streams that I've seen you do. I mean, you were doing a little bit of in partaking in alcoholic beverages, but
oh yeah,
but you know, that's like the fun part. You know, you're not like this very serious, like by the rules, like very controlling person.
I'm not on NBC. Like, the rules of professional broadcast do not apply on the internet. This isn't TSN or NBC. I'm here to have fun. And the people that are in the chat are mostly here to have fun as well. And we're all hockey fans, just kind of hanging out, chilling, watching a game, and having fun together.
Yeah, I mean, you know, because I mean, when you're having fun, you're drinking, like, you know, you're obviously going to be sillier, and that makes people want to watch more. It's like, oh, this guy's, you know, getting drunk. Let's watch him. He's funny. He's a very, very personable. Personable, is that a word?
Yeah,
but you know, he's very like down to earth, and it's just chilling, you know, and that's what what's very like engaging, or trying to think of the word, but very enticing to people to watch, you know. And for the future, or do you see yourself like trying to work for, an NBC or TSN, or do you think, if your channel and your merch store? Oh, and by the way, he has some merch on his channel. I'm going to add the link in the description to go check it out if you're interested in some pretty actually sweet merch. But do you see yourself working YouTube as a full time? If the channel blows up even more than it is now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any plans or anything as far as like working for an actual broadcast station or NBC, Nesson, or like ABC, anything like that. I don't really have much for plans in general now. I think the main thing is I'm just trying to grow this channel as big and as fast as I can, and I kind of want to see where it goes. If it ever gets to the point where it is like that, I could do that as my only job, I would 100% do that. That would be an absolute dream job if there ever is one. Would just be getting to talk about hockey for a living, and do it on my own terms in my own way, how I want to do it, which is much more of I'm just a 24-year-old dude hanging out in my basement watching hockey and engaging with a bunch of other people watching hockey, more so than in that like professional broadcast type space where it's much more controlled and suit and tie and that kind of thing. I'd love it if this channel could ever get big enough to the point where I could legitimately have like a full-time job, as my YouTube channel, which would be just incredible. That would be a dream. I don't know if it will ever get that big, but
never say never, though. Never say never.
Definitely just trying to work at it and get it, just keep growing it. And these playoffs have been absolutely insane. I've already gained almost 1,000 new subscribers in the last month or so. So it's been nuts with these playoffs going on, how quickly things are, it's growing. But yeah, I mean, definitely long term, that would be awesome if that could happen. But I'm not planning on it. I'm not planning on really anything at this point. I think I'm just working at it, going with the flow with whatever happens, and seeing how far I can take it.
Yeah, because I mean, I remember like probably 6 months ago, you hit I think it was about 6 months ago, you hit 1,000 followers on YouTube. It might have been a little longer ago than that, but
it was November.
That's
November
right. Yeah,
was when I hit 1,000. And now we're in August, and I've already gained another 1,200.
Yeah, I mean, and with that, you've had the channel for 3 years, gaining in less than a year like 1,000, as you said, 1,200 followers or subscribers. That's a big deal, and I feel like we're more leaning towards people on the internet, much less TV. We're leaning more towards people on the internet for like games and stuff, because obviously you can't show games because of copyright. But when you're watching a guy just do play-by-play, and just being very personable, being very like engaging and fun, like that's something you take and you'd watch over a NBC broadcast, or listening to it on the radio. Because they're more suit and tie, more professional. As YouTube, you can basically do whatever you want on YouTube, to the extent of you can't murder someone and put it on YouTube, but you can't make money off of that, obviously. But and especially with streaming is a great way to make money. With your playbacks and all your commenting for the algorithm and shit. Like,
yep.
and the donations, the merch store, which again, this is the second time I mentioned the merch store, but I'm going to put the link in the description for the merch store. But, I mean, and as for the merch store, where did you come up with the idea to make the type of merch that you do? Like the sweatshirts and the shirts and stuff?
So when that was one of the things that I did. I feel like I had that even before I hit 1,000 subscribers. I've had merch for a while now. That's something that I just added in. A bunch of people on the channel were kind of asking for it. I think it was during the playoffs last year. There was quite a few people on the channel kind of asking like, do you have shirts? Do you have hats? Like, do you have sweatshirts? Like, do you have any merchandise that like represents your channel? I'm like, no. I mean, at that point, I was under 1,000 subscribers. I was a very, very small YouTube channel. I mean, from a YouTube standpoint, I still am a very, very small channel. But people were asking for it, so I decided I would make a merch store and came up with a few different designs. Obviously, the main one is just my regular channel logo. And I created the Shoot Your Shot design, which was kind of more of a joke. It was supposed to be funny, like, because, shoot your shot, multiple different meanings there. But that ended up coming out pretty good. And then I've had a couple subscribers actually design logos for me and send them to me to put on merch. So there's a couple in there that were actually made by subscribers. And I just wanted to slap it on as many different products as I could, whatever people were interested in, and just kind of built the merch store to have a wide array of products and have a few different designs. I think I'm up to like 5 or 6 different designs now, and give people options so that if they want to support the channel, if they want to, buy a shirt or buy a sweatshirt, buy a coffee mug, whatever that has, my stuff on it, that they would have the option to do so. And, so far it's gone pretty well.
So if you don't mind me asking, what is your top selling item on the merch store?
Top selling is probably sweatshirts, honestly. Sweatshirts and stickers have both gone very well.
Who did you go through to I'm assuming you went through someone to make the merch, or was it just you that made it?
Well, I designed everything, and so it's through Teespring, and basically it's once it's ordered, Teespring makes it and all of that. They ship it. It's all Teespring takes care of all the hard work. Basically, all I have to do is upload the design, and then decide which products I want to put that on, and I can design how big it is and all of that. So basically what I do is I go on Teespring, I upload the design in PNG format or JPEG format, whatever, slap it on whatever merch I want it on, and then hit or just say, put this in the store, and Teespring takes care of the rest. So they make the products, they ship them out, they get them to you, all of that.
That's actually pretty cool. I mean, especially being able to make actual tangible money with that. That honestly, to a lot of people, it's hard to do. Because a lot of people, again, don't have that personality and don't have the ability to gain subscribers and then gain a following in order to like start making merch. And again, making money off people. But like, that honestly is what helps a channel grow, I feel like. And especially with your case, you're doing a lot of live streams among other content, because you'll be sitting on the live stream for how long would you say your average stream is, especially during the playoffs, like this style of playoffs?
So if I only do one game, they're usually a little under 3 hours, because the game's about 2.5 hours. Then you've got the time beforehand. I'll stay on a little bit after. But I've been doing a lot of double headers with these playoffs, though, because there's been lots of back-to-back games where one game ends and there's another one that starts up as soon as that one ends. So those streams can go 5-6 hours, and then if there's overtime, potentially even longer.
So like how do you stay kind of like focused during that? Because I know obviously for me, I've got ADHD, so it'd be hard for me to focus that long. How do you do it?
When the gameplay's going on, it's really easy, because obviously I'm watching the game as it happens and just trying to keep up with everything. Intermissions can get long sometimes. That's definitely the hardest part is when you're in intermission and you're in like hour 5 of the stream, and it's between the second and third period of the last game. And mostly it's the chat. The chat is what keeps me kind of focused in and keeps me going. Otherwise, I'd probably be falling asleep on stream for some of those late games out in the Western Conference. But the chat, as long as there's people watching and people are chatting, during the live stream, then, I try and keep up, answer all their questions, talk with all of them in the chat. And then, that can make intermission go by a lot faster, feel like it goes by a lot faster for sure. And, perfect example was the other night when that troll came in. That's the only reason I engaged that kid or whoever the heck it was because it was at intermission. If that was during the game, I would have just kept calling the game and completely ignored him. And at this point, another thing I've learned on YouTube is there's always going to be people talking a lot of shit, and there's always going to be people saying stuff that they would never say to you face to face, and there's people spamming and trolling all the time. 99% of the time, I just ignore it now. I was really bad when I first started. I tried to fight back at every person who had something negative to say, and you realize very quickly that that's just not worth your time, and that you're not actually going to accomplish anything. So now I would say at least 95% of the time when people post negative stuff, I just completely ignore it. But this kid came in at the perfect time when it was at intermission. There was nothing going on. And I just thought it would be fun just to go off on him for a bit. And the rest of the chat seemed to enjoy it. I thought it was pretty funny. And he hasn't been back since, so we'll see. But if he wants to come back again, hopefully it's during an intermission. Because if it was during gameplay, I would just keep focusing on the game and completely ignore him. But intermission, sometimes, you need something to keep it interesting.
Yeah, because I know you kept on making a comment your mods were very good, and they took him out of the chat immediately. I remember his first comment was, "I have crippling depression" or something like that. I made a stupid comment. I tried to add him, but I don't know how to, so I just did me too. But then I really didn't catch the self promo. I just saw I'm playing X game on my YouTube, come watch, and then someone called him out for it. And I think then he started becoming really becoming a troll or some shit.
Yeah,
I thought it was really fun. It was really funny. You're just you're what a loser. Imagine your parent I hope your parents are proud or some shit like that.
Yeah, I don't even remember exactly what I said, but I destroyed the kid. It was funny. And the moderators in the chat did a great job. Literally, this guy went back and kept making new accounts because every time he would go in the chat, his account would get banned. So then he'd go make a new one, come right back into the chat, and then immediately get banned again. And that's when I started going off, and that's where the whole I really started ripping him for what an absolute loser this kid is, because he's taking the time and putting in the effort to literally remake new YouTube accounts literally every 10 seconds, because his gets immediately banned as soon as it's in the chat. Gone within seconds. I can't even read half the messages that he says because the mods have them deleted and gone before I can even see it. And he just keeps coming back, not just once or twice, but 7, 8, 9, 10 times, 10 different accounts. And that's when I really started ripping him. This kid has no friends. No one likes you. You sit alone at lunch. You have nothing better to do with your time than to sit here on the internet and troll a chat that you're immediately getting banned from the second you show up. And you put in 10 times more time and effort than I am right now into making all of these new accounts so you can try and troll this chat, and you're accomplishing absolutely nothing. So, yeah, he was pretty fun to rip into, and definitely pretty much a waste of space.
So I remember you made a comment right after. You said that Ray Bro, I know he runs the Off the Wall meme account.
Yes.
Has he made a video for that yet? I
have not seen one, but he did say that he clipped it. So I'm kind of waiting. I don't know how much of the rant he got or what parts he clipped, but I feel like in the near future there's going to be something out there of that Ray Bro has made of me just destroying that troll.
Because if he needs the clip, I can just send. I have the whole clip. I have the 5-minute clip on my phone. so I could send it to him. Say, look, here's the thing you said, because you said it was like easily a top 3 channel moment.
Oh, that was definitely that was the most I've ever torn into someone on the channel. I'm pretty sure. I can't think of any other time where I went that hard at somebody.
I mean, because like, I don't know why people go into so much effort just, especially making new accounts. Like, if you've already been banned, right, and the moderators are doing a good job and they're not going to let you back in, what is the point? Like, you're like, I get it.
None.
Like, I mean, honestly, like, I don't. No one in their right mind does that. No one who has a life. No one who like has any sense of decency does that. No one does that. It's stupid that people do that.
Oh, it's just such a waste of their own time. But again, they are people that have nothing better to do. They are people that don't have friends to hang out with or don't get any attention at home, and they are just looking for attention, and they end up doing stuff like that. But it's literally pointless because they're immediately banned, and I don't understand it. I've never done that, so I don't know what would possess them in their right mind to go and do that. But it's unfortunately, it's pretty common on YouTube. I'm sure it is on other sites as well. I've never been on Twitch, so I don't know how that is. But I know on YouTube, it's just not only on my channel, but on channels that I watch when they're live streaming, it's the same thing. There are always people coming in the chat, trolling, and just purposely causing as much problems as they can, and I really don't understand it. Something's obviously wrong with them, and that's why it's so much fun to just rip them apart from time to time.
How often would you say it happens on your channel?
Oh, every stream there's at least a few trolls.
Now
every single stream, it's constant. Now, very rarely do I actually pay any attention to them. Usually, you don't even notice it if you're watching, because the mods will see it. They'll they'll delete the comment, whatever they say. They'll ban them from the channel or time them out or whatever, and they're gone. And it never seen again. But so very rarely does it result in me actually engaging them.
And literally
because it was at intermission, and it was, we were having a fun night that night too. I decided just to rip this particular one.
I mean, yeah, because the last couple streams I've seen were quite exciting. It's the one where you got, how much money did you end up with that at the end of that stream? It was like people were donating like $50, $20. How much money did you say you ended up with? I've had 2 massive dono streams in the past couple weeks. One of them I ended up with almost $400, and another one I ended up with almost $200. I think I was in the one with $400 because because they're like, oh, I think someone in the comment section said that they're going to get a paddling.
Yes, okay, that was Sutton. Yes, Sutton is a legend on the channel. That kid's hilarious. But yes, he donated $20 with his mom's credit card, and then said, "I'm gonna get a spanking when she finds out about this."
Did you ever hear an update from that?
I have not heard an update, but he was in the chat last night, so I don't think he got actually in trouble or anything. But yeah, that was really, really funny.
Yeah, because then they do the push-up competition.
Okay, yeah, that was the stream that I made almost $400. So I got almost 600 donated, but YouTube takes their chunk out of it. And by the time it actually got to me, it was a little under 400. But still, that's a ton of money for one night.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like YouTube shouldn't take that money because they rightfully donated it to you. Now I can see if it's like a dollar or so.
YouTube takes a lot.
Like I could see if it's like $1 or so for like just like quote unquote tax, but like
yeah, they could take like processing fees, but they take like 30%.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, Google wants to get their hands in the money bucket there, to say the least.
Fucking Google. But yeah, no, like, I mean, with your channel blowing up, like, have you seen a increase in your like revenue, or has it kind of been like more steady as the past like couple weeks have gone on?
It's been well, the last month or so has been massive compared to any other time in this channel's history. Pretty much since the playoffs started, it's been huge. Obviously, there's been a couple days when I get those days of, for whatever stream, someone comes in and donates a ton of money, and those will be massive spikes from what it normally is. I would say generally, like the last month or so has been pretty steady with those, at least as far as like the floor goes, revenue wise. It's been pretty good and steady. And then, when totally depending on the donations during the chat or during the streams in the chat, that can cause it to really spike up sometimes. But the last month has just been insane, like way, way, way more than I've ever gotten before on this channel.
Yeah, I mean, because YouTube is, a great place to make a name for yourself, as I said, and as you said, you don't really have any plans. If the opportunity presents itself, would you trade in YouTube for like, a broadcast studio or like a radio studio if one were more beneficial from the other, or would you still continue to do the same, like do both, if you will?
I mean, if I could do both, that would be awesome. For sure would be totally open to doing both. If it came down to like having to pick one, it would depend on the financials of it. I think mostly like YouTube's been really, really good. Lately it's been fantastic, but at the end of the day, I'm still a very small channel. It's not like I have 100,000 subscribers or something like that. So if someone came along and was like, we can offer you this like actual full-time job gig as like a broadcaster or whatever, and they said, but you have to stop YouTube, it'd be tough, but I'd probably go with the real, actual like secure job. But I don't ever want to, like, I hope to keep the channel going. And hopefully the channel gets big enough someday to where that is the actual secure job.
Yeah, I mean, because, with Alex, he started on Sportscaster. Did you just start on YouTube, or did you do Sportscaster? Because I feel like someone said...
I am only on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, with stuff like that, you can... it's different. As we talked about before, it's different than the suit and tie. It's more personable. I mean, and hockey, it's back, so that's going to be a high influx of viewers because people are wanting to see hockey. Not a lot of people have access to it, depending on their home situation, but also like, they want, sometimes they just don't feel like watching the game. They just want to, participate with people who watch the game and who are hockey fanatics, and watching someone else. So actually, it looks like we're running out of time. I got to get ready to go to a doctor's appointment. But Jon, thank you for coming on. This is actually I believe the longest podcast episode. Now my dog is barking in the background, but this is the longest podcast episode in the podcast history. So Jon, thank you for coming on. If you ever want to come back on, just just say the word.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. And everyone, go check out Off the Wall Hockey on YouTube. Jon will be live streaming quite often. You'll find
pretty much almost every night,
and you can watch his past streams. He uploads his past streams to the channel, so it's always available to watch his content. I have his channel link in the description. I'll leave his merch link in the description. And with that, guys, thank you so much for listening, and tune in for the next episode, whenever that is.